stuff to cover for you guys today. Welcome all on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter. This is Mot Today. I'm Luis Acevedo, the founder of Mot Media and the co-host of Mot Today.
And I am Mick Ruggiero, and we have a banger for you today, guys.
Yeah, we sure do. So those on TikTok, you won't be able to see Mick. One of these days, we're going to be able to get together and do a live stream on TikTok, the two of us. You've seen both of our faces, though, and be able to do the show live in person. But until then, you'll just hear his voice, or until I can figure out how to set it up so that way you can see both of us where we're at. But anyway, Mick is right. We do have a banger for you guys today. So what's going on, Mick?
Oh, not much. Just trying to keep people ahead of the curve. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and we got more stuff in the works. I think we're on Snapchat too. Pretty much everything, and more is coming.
Yep, we got some merch coming. We got some pretty cool merch coming. I can give you guys a sneak peek of what. Well, I don't know. It's pretty cool. So it's, I think, very fitting for our time. You know, we're living in a time that I talk a lot about, where we have effeminate men, and you know, this whole feminist movement is really detrimental to society, I believe. And so we have a coffee cup coming out that's going to have feminist tears as the wording. And then we also have a t-shirt, a tank top rather, and a hat that has toxic masculinity on it. So, you know, really trying to get ahead of the curve there, because I do think that there's a big movement against it rising up right now. And it's, you know, so why not hop on that wave? So we should have something out here relatively soon. Got to get the Shopify store up and everything, but that's in the works. There's a lot of stuff in the works.
Yeah. And we're going to be skipping Ohio today because we got a lot of other things that we want to cover. Normally we would cover something in Ohio, but it's not like anything that really caught our eye, and there's some other bigger, more important things to talk about around the world. So why don't you start us off, Luis?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that's going on right now is a amendment that was voted down by every single Democrat in the House. Literally every single Democrat. Not one Democrat voted against it. And this amendment made it so it would be illegal for intel agencies to investigate, monitor, and potentially persecute those who decided to not get poisoned, essentially, you know, get that thing, get that poke, get poisoned. So the Democrats all voted against it. They want to allow agencies to investigate, to probe, to see why the mother didn't get their child poisoned at 5 years old. It's really ridiculous.
Yeah, what isn't it? It's SB 350, Senate Bill 350.
Yep.
And it's part of some larger piece of legislation, which is like the domestic terrorist legislation that they're trying to pass. Crazy.
Which is something we've been talking a lot about here. You know, I've been really hounding down on the domestic terrorist narrative for a while now. And this is something that we've talked about on the show. And I believe that we've covered this specific issue regarding poisons, jabs, whatever you want to call them, and how you would be labeled a domestic terrorist for not getting it. But that doesn't mean you should be scared or worried about it, because this is just, it's still in the voting process. And not even that, not just that, but we have to understand that not only are private corporations in the private sector as a whole short-staffed, but the government is short-staffed too, guys. Like, they can't even properly do the taxes at the IRS. Not that the IRS is a government entity. It's actually a private entity in Puerto Rico. But they don't even have enough staffing to do the taxes, to do enough audits here in the United States. So even if this does come to fruition, I think the real thing is going to be the fact that people will be the police. They will monitor this. They will be the ones responsible for turning you in. which during this whole scamdemic, whatever you want to call it, you were able to see the real ones and the fake ones, who caved, who didn't cave, who was in support of you not doing something, and who was against you. So you're able to see this from a couple of years ago. So all we're really experiencing now is going to be a ramping up of that, of those same people that would have called the cops on you for not wearing a mask at Walmart, as the cops were called on me, my wife, for not wearing a mask at Walmart. Those same people are going to be the real concern when it comes to this kind of activity, not so much the government.
Yeah, so it's just going to be people snitching on each other.
100%. That's what I think.
Why don't they just not talk to them like they already do?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like people who are, like if you're not vaccinated, some people just, well, dang, I said the wrong thing. If you don't have the thing, then, you know, some people just won't even talk to you. They'll just like, you know, don't even want you to be a part of their life type thing. And
yeah.
Yeah, so they didn't vote for the amendment. The amendment was going to be to say you can't do this, which we probably shouldn't even show that video, but the senator, I think his name was Senator Massey, was saying that there shouldn't even be an amendment for this because this is already like against the law.
Yeah, it's against the Constitution.
So they didn't vote for it, the amendment that shouldn't have even been a thing. And so what now? It's like for sure they're allowed to do that, or I think the overall legislation hasn't really gone through yet.
Yeah, that's it. So
now this was a Senate bill, and I thought that the Republicans control the Senate. So like, how the hell did it not pass?
Well, every single Democrat, I think, in the House voted against it.
Yeah, but if all the Republicans voted for it,
did they though?
I don't know. Did it even pass? Like
I don't know that it passed or not.
I just saw the headline was that the Democrats voted against it. I didn't see if it actually passed or not. Let me take a look.
Yeah, so really, this is where you find out who you can trust and who you can't trust. That's really what it comes down to. I wouldn't be so much about government overreach. It's going to be brainwashed people trying to turn you in. And this is what happens in fallen societies all the time. So really, this is why, MOT is trying to build a community of like-minded individuals. That way, as you're losing family members, you're losing friends, or something of that kind, you have a other place to go to with people who are like-minded and won't demonize you for what you've done or didn't do, rather. So, it's important right now to start building these communities, start building your network, and start becoming more self-sufficient in any way that you can. It can be as simple as cutting your own hair, not that you have to do that, but I'm just saying, like, you don't have to go out and say, I need to get a freaking 5 acres of land and get 3 cows and 2 goats and 17 chickens. Yeah, if you can afford it, you can afford it. But there's little things that you can do to make you less reliant on the system, which then in turn means you will have to deal less and less with people who will turn on you. So it's very vital, especially now, that we all start hanging around people who have high trust, high morality, and are trying to improve their life and are just not fearful.
It wasn't SB 350, it was HR 350, so that makes sense that the Democrats would have more power in that.
Mm-hmm.
House Resolution 350.
Yep. So we'll see how this unfolds, but my overall message in regards to that is there's no need to be fearful. There's no need to get upset. Simply do what you can as far as what's in your control. And what's in your control is who you associate with, what you post on social media. It's not bad to do some self-censoring. I get it. We all want to be like Braveheart and just say, I want to speak what I want to say for freedom, but not everybody wants to get freaking ripped apart by horses or anything like that. So, or hung, right? So, and this is all metaphorically speaking, obviously. because that ain't happening over here.
Well, yeah, they just do the firing line now, right?
Right, right. The firing squads are coming back. That's another thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's it's really simple. I think this is just a scare tactic, and I think Republicans are right in the line, even if they're voting against it, with the idea of going for it because they're instilling fear in people's hearts. That senator or the House representative who you're talking about in the video said this should be terrifying. Like, come on, come on. No, it should not be terrifying.
I mean, yeah, you shouldn't be afraid of it, but it is concerning.
Yes, there's a difference between terrified and to be concerned or afraid.
Yeah, I mean, once they start ripping people apart with horses, and then maybe it should be terrified, I guess.
Yeah, that would be a little bit different. But maybe by that point we'll have, better quality people too.
Maybe. Yeah, and then the other thing we were going to talk about for national was the firing squad. What was it? Was it South Carolina? I sent you the thing. Is that what it was? Was South Carolina?
Yep.
They just made it legal to kill by firing squad. And I was watching the video about it, and they said that the pharmaceutical companies are like not allowing them to get the lethal injection drugs anymore, like as a way to protest the death penalty. So they're like, well, I guess we're just gonna have to do firing squads now because the gun manufacturers aren't going to tell them no, they can't have bullets. So.
Right. And it might even be a more humane way to go than freaking lethal injection, because who knows how painful that really is to be paralyzed and then put into a heart attack, right? To have then a cardiac arrest.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting how also you're seeing all this open carry, constitutional carry legislation passing. It's like gun culture is like rising or something in the U.S. It's pretty interesting.
As it should, because U.S. is a very violent place. I know there's a lot of right wingers who will say, "Oh, the United States is a very safe place," talking about these mass shootings is cherry picking, da 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 da. But you go to a lot of other countries, whether you like to admit it or not, like Islamic countries that are first world, so to speak, and they're very peaceful. They're non-violent. You don't have to worry about getting robbed. You don't have to worry about random acts of violence. You go over to like Eastern European countries. The Eastern European countries aren't going to go and attack another, let's say, a Hungarian. Because why? Because they're Hungarian. They don't want to attack their own kind. Here in the United States, we have no social cohesion, and that causes so much division amongst us, which then allows for people to hurt their own, fellow citizens, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know what the statistics are of these other countries, but I have seen videos and things of like random violence and stuff all over the world. Maybe it's more here in the United States. I mean, if it wasn't for guns, we wouldn't even be a country too. I think that has a lot to do with the glorification of guns in our country and rebelliousness and stuff. Like it all
100%.
It all means something.
Yeah, and I'm all for guns. I think everybody should own a gun. I think everybody should know how to shoot a gun, should be able to protect your own family. I'm all for that. And I'm all for these constitutional carry laws being passed and getting rid of the CCW or whatever the hell it's called. I think everybody should be able to conceal carry. I mean, a criminal is going to conceal carry. Regardless, my whole point with what I was saying originally is that in the U.S., it is becoming more dangerous to live, and that's just a fact. And there are other countries that are much safer than the U.S., and that's just the fact. And a lot of those countries have a totally different way of life than we do, and that's just the fact. And their way of life is probably better than ours. They're more family-oriented. They're more traditional, where the U.S., I look at the U.S. as the capital in the Hunger Games, where you have all these disformed, ugly-ass people that just gorge on food, don't have a care in the world about anything else but themselves. And yeah.
So we were talking about this last week, and how you were saying like other countries like are better because they have more moral values, and I came back at you and I said, there's pockets of the U.S. that. So you're saying that have good moral values, and you're saying so like overall those countries in general, like just overall have more moral values, you think?
100%. 100%. I've said this before as far as what happened in Russia. So in Russia, this woman and man took a provocative picture in front of a church, and just to give you a brief depiction of what that was, dude was standing straight up. The woman was kneeled in front of him, looking like she was, giving him oral, if you will. And they were arrested for that. In the U.S., totally fine. Totally fine to degrade what should be the foundation of your society. Totally okay. In Islam, you go over and start talking trash about Muhammad or Allah, good luck. Good luck. But over here in the US, you can make a Netflix series and a gay Jesus, and everybody's okay with that. You can have a female pastor, which is specifically prohibited.
Well, not everybody would be okay with that.
You get my point, though. It's
but like, yeah, I mean, you're not gonna. I guess the media is not gonna like ridicule you for that.
And there's no warrior men here to stand up and fight against it. Nobody's willing to die for Christianity in the U.S., while people in Africa are dying for Christianity right now. And they do the same for Islam. So my whole point is, yeah, there may be pockets in the U.S. Of course there are. Just like there's pockets of bad areas everywhere. But the overall vibe of the U.S. is degraded and disgusting compared to a lot of other countries. And I have direct contact with people that are in, like Eastern Europe and other places. So, I know from firsthand sources that the countries at least appear to be much better than what we have over here. And then you can get into the news, then you can get into other statistics and data and have some more concrete evidence to back that up. But that doesn't mean disparaging the United States either. I live in the United States. I'm a U.S. citizen. I love the U.S. I mean, I love our traditions here. But I'm just being honest that there's a lot of things that we do wrong, and they've been revealing themselves. The rooster has to come home at some point to crow, or whatever that saying is, to lay its eggs, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, that's my take.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's still hope for us. We're a lot more connected to the internet and stuff. So like, I feel like over here in the United States, there's a lot more going on in our heads. Like, and we probably shouldn't be worried about a lot of these things. Like, we need to focus more on our family and stuff. And I think that's a big problem over here. Like, maybe over in other countries. Well, hold on. First, let me say that in the U.S., there's also a lot of like doubt against our government and stuff. And maybe over there in the other countries, they're not as connected to, social media and stuff. And they don't like have as much nonsense going on through their head. And in turn, even if their governments are corrupt, maybe they don't see it as much. So maybe they just like have more faith in their country, and they're more family oriented because they are more focused on their family. Whereas over here, that's like a lot of people just like, I don't know, they're worried about all kinds of crazy stuff and like things they can't even control. So I think
I don't even think it's so much. So I think there's a lot of issues. I really do. I think there's a lot of issues here, more so than just caring about the family. I think that's important, but I think.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, we have, like, our standard of living. Like, we have so much more time to just bullshit. Whereas, like, in other countries, they may be more focused on their family and stuff because they don't have a choice. And over here, people are always playing around on their phones, looking at shit that who knows what that does to their brain chemistry, their mind, like how they're thinking. It affects the way they're thinking. And so that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like we have all this technology and it like redirects our focus from the things that really matter, I think. Right?
Yeah, no, I think that you have a good point, but I would say that.
And it's accepted. Like over there, it might not be as accepted. Like they're like, why you keep playing with your phone? Like, come on, we got things to do. Whereas over here, it's just like, you go on a city bus, dude. Everybody's just staring at their phone anywhere, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it. And I get what you're trying to say too, what you are saying. I would just state that there are a lot of productive things one can do on their phone.
Yeah,
A lot.
I agree with you.
You can make a
I'm just
lot
saying that
of
this may be
money.
why our
Yeah,
society is the way it is. Part of it, the
yeah.
way that it's
It's
evolved.
part of the reason. I think the biggest reason, honestly, the biggest reason has to do with the emasculating of men, and
Well, yeah, and if you're
has
just
to
sitting there
do,
playing on your phone all day, yeah, it's gonna. How manly can you be playing on your phone? I mean, let's be real.
yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think another thing too that I don't know, I don't know. I'll have to think on that other thing a little bit more, but I really think the issues stem from personal morality and just the constant brainwashing that we've had to endure for generations now. And so you have this idea. First off, here's the thing that I think the US and our culture gets very wrong, and Western culture gets very wrong, is the fact that you need to move out of the house from your parents' home in order to be a full fledged adult. You need to go make your own way. I think that is wrong on so many levels. I think that mentality is wrong and it has weakened us, not given us strength. This all happened in the Industrial Revolution when they started taking people off the farm, right? They said, hey, you want to make a better living? Go out to the city. And then in the city, they got treated like garbage and didn't make any money and were struggling to survive. But back on the farm, they were actually able to make a living. They were actually able to survive. So, and I'm not suggesting go back to an agricultural lifestyle. My point here is that the division of family is what has made the U.S. extremely weak. If you look at in Western countries, if you look at Eastern countries, specific, one that comes to my mind right away is China. They share houses with their family, their entire family. They have like corridors for each person, a courtyard where they can have their family time together. And now you're starting to see the revival of this in the US, but it's with strangers. It's called community housing, and it's in smart cities where everybody shares in this apartment complex, but then there's a shared kitchen, there's a shared living room, but you have your private space. So they're trying to get you to do it with strangers, but then there's other countries that do it with family. And so think about how much more powerful you would be and how much more resources you would have if all the men in your family were out going to make some money and defend the home, defend whatever, and then the women could stay home and teach their children, raise their children, make shit to sell, whatever. You would have so much more resources. There are a lot of people out there that drive very, very nice exotic cars, such as a Ferrari, Lamborghinis, Rolls Royce, etc. And the reason they're able to afford it, while they may have a good job, right? They may be a lawyer making $200,000 a year, but $200,000 a year salary doesn't make it so you can drive a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a Rolls Royce. What makes it so is the fact that you have four other brothers that you guys all have a joint bank account with. And you guys all put your money in there and you guys all hustle.
Oh, they take turns driving it.
So, that's another big problem there. So when we
Yeah.
talk about, family, it's not just, your wife and your children. No, it's like your whole family, your whole family. And the idea that I also don't like the idea that very successful men who have a lot of resources, especially here in the US, it's frowned upon to have more than one wife. I think it should be legal to have more than one wife, especially here in the US, and especially if you have the wealth to support more than one family. Because
Isn't
that's
it?
how it's been. It is. I mean,
Like,
you can have girlfriends, and they
you
just can't technically
so
be
you
married
just can't like legally be married to
to
more
more
than
than
one
one
person.
person. Yeah.
Okay. Is
So
that must be why why Mitch Romney or Mitt Romney's family lives in Mexico, because then it's legal there?
yeah, I think so. I think that's one of the reasons.
Hmm.
But they were also being persecuted. But I think that that's a very natural thing that occurs throughout history, throughout human
Um,
existence.
the farm thing, how you're saying people would like leave the farm. I think part of the reason for that was because like they wanted to start their own family with someone other than their sister. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know that they can try and communicate with other farmers to like see if they have a daughter or something. But depending on your situation, you might need to venture away from your family if you want to start your own, right?
Yeah, so I get what you're saying, but the reality of the matter is people have always come together that weren't necessarily family and live together in tribes. And
Yeah,
yeah, there's probably some inbreeding that takes place, but I don't know. I don't know. There's a
it's
lot
a
of
complex
misinformation.
situation.
There's a lot of misinformation about inbreeding as well. Um, so I don't know. I don't know how bad it actually is. Not saying I support it. I just haven't done enough research on it to really have a strong opinion as to whether or not it's bad or good. We're always told it's bad, but pretty much anytime they tell me something's bad, I don't know if I should believe them or not. And by they, I mean the mainstream media, the mainstream public education system, the mainstream, what is supposedly common sense. I question it all every time. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I guess we could do experiments with like animals, and breed them with.
Yeah, yeah. I
I don't
mean,
know.
but
I'm
but
sure
it
there's
isn't
some research
uncommon
out there we'd have
if
to
you
look
go
into.
back far enough. It isn't uncommon for people to second cousins, third cousins, be married to them. In some states in the U.S., it's still perfectly legal to do that.
Yeah, and
So
we have the internet now, so that shouldn't be a problem. Like people could still, like if they live on a farm, you could stay on the farm, build a house there, meet someone, and have them come live on the farm with you.
right,
Uh, yeah, I don't know. People have gotten away from that over time, and now it's more. Oh, everything's just more industrialized. I mean,
yeah,
if you grow up like in the city and all you know is the city life, you're probably going to be less of a chance of you moving and buying a bunch of land and starting a farm. I guess it just everybody has to make decisions in their life, and it just depends on what route you choose to take.
100%. And I think that if because this is my goal with my family is I want to be sure that we can all stay on the same property. Make sure that we have this family home. It's big enough to fit as many people that we have in our family as our family grows, and have the space for it. That's one big goal of mine.
Well, I mean, would you be upset if your kids are like, "Well, I don't really want to live here forever. I kind of want to travel around and see the world." Who knows? Maybe they'll come back, but I mean, like, you wouldn't be upset with that, would you?
They'll travel the world with me.
Well, yeah, but well, like whenever they get older, what if they just want to go somewhere by themselves? Like
No, I don't think so.
they want
I
to go
don't
on a
think
trip
so.
with a friend or something, they're not allowed to.
Well, it's not. It's totally different than what I'm saying. I'm talking about living, making your headquarters somewhere.
Yeah.
There's going to be an Acevedo headquarters in the
Yeah.
U.S.
But like if they want to go on a vacation or
Yeah,
travel,
that's totally different. Yeah,
they
you're
might. But
talking
what
about
if
a
they want to have a
vacation.
house somewhere else too? Like different properties. Who knows? Like who knows what the future is going to hold?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We'll see because
Got a long ways away for that.
things are getting interesting here over in the U.S. So we'll see if they even want to do that. Maybe they will. Maybe things won't turn out to be so doom and gloom. I
I
don't
know
think they
there's a
will.
lot of things I want to see around the world still that I haven't seen. All this BS with the unicorn has kind of like put a damper on some of my future plans of going to go see things, I think. And
Yeah, dude.
there's
That's
just,
why you got to make enough money to get a private jet to be able to fly private. Then you can go anywhere.
well, I don't think you have to have the thing anyway to fly. No, you don't have to have it to fly, but like
Yeah, but
certain
I'm talking.
countries just won't let you. Huh?
Yeah, yeah, dude. You just there's a lot of people. There's a lot of very wealthy people who are traveling wherever they want to go because
Yeah. That's
you
why
know
RV sales have gone through the roof.
I'm talking about around the world.
Yeah. But
They
some
they
countries, you just, I don't know, I haven't kept up with it, but a lot of countries were saying, you can't even come here if you don't have it.
I think that there are different rules for different social economic classes, and
Yeah, I mean,
not
probably.
only that,
I don't know.
but if you have the balls to claim you're a human, that's good enough too. That puts you in a totally different class. That
I
puts
mean,
you
you
in
saw what they did with the tennis player, the one who was trying to go to the big tennis tournament in Australia, and they stopped him there. And what was his name? It wasn't Federer. It was the other one. But yeah, like he's super rich and powerful. They didn't just like let him waltz in there and play tennis. They like held him in
obviously he
custody.
isn't that powerful. Obviously he isn't that powerful, and he doesn't have the right connections.
Well, I don't know. He's got a lot of money, so maybe he just needs to know the right guy to smuggle him in there
think
and play
about it,
tennis.
dude. Think about it. I mean, there's a lot of There's a lot of felons that are at the top of these drug organizations, these crime organizations. They can travel wherever they want to, and they're breaking all kinds of laws. Therefore, it is possible if you know the right people.
You're saying there's felons that just do whatever they want? They just travel around when they should be in jail or something?
Dude, Pablo Escobar was taking pictures in front of the White House when the whole world, specifically the United States, was looking for him.
Yeah. Isn't he in jail now or something? I think
Pablo Escobar has been dead for a long time.
Oh, okay.
But Pablo Escobar, I mean, that's just one example. And there's a bunch of other examples that you probably don't even know of, that I don't even know, that are doing it right now. But they're on America's Most Wanted list, and they're traveling wherever they want to travel. So you just have to know the right people. You have to have the right connections, which is another really good thing to have, not just the money, but good connections. So anyway, the whole family thing, coming together, pooling resources, is a really, really important thing, especially in times like these where we have countries experiencing this mass inflation.
Yeah, and like you were saying, the multiculturalism causing civil wars, this inflation and all this is like exacerbating the whole thing too, and it's actually forcing families to live together and to work together. It's kind of interesting how that's working. So we got like in Pakistan, they actually have nuclear weapons, by the way, and them and India have a long, strained history, border disputes and whatnot. They're going through some issues right now. Their leader is probably about to get ousted. He's actually said that, or he claims that Western nations are trying to topple his regime. But the opponents of him are like, no, you just suck. Like, you got to go. Inflation is a big problem for them. They owe a bunch of money to China. Sri Lanka is dealing with a bunch of stuff where they shot themselves in the foot trying to be eco-friendly. And now they like destroyed their own economy by trying to be woke. And now they're dealing with a bunch of issues. Also, a neighbor of India, in Peru, which is in South America, they're having huge inflation problems. The government just ordered the army to like quell the unrest. Citizens were protesting by like blockading the highways, so like stuff can't go through. I don't understand. That sounds a little counterproductive, but the army is trying to get them off the highway so they can keep things moving. And that's just 3 countries. I mean, I'm sure it's like everywhere. Like, I mean, even here in the U.S., we see the prices and things going up. So yeah, it's just something I just thought was interesting. It's a lot of the media isn't talking about it. They're just like, oh, the price of eggs and stuff. Like, in other countries, it's way worse. But I think that's because we get first dibs of everything over here, whereas in other countries, they just get what's left. So.
Yeah, and this is another, aside from pooling resources, cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a great way to hedge against inflation.
Oh yeah, you're talking about ways to hedge against inflation.
Yeah. So if you're experiencing that, and not only that, but there are so many ways to make money in this world, and a lot of people just haven't even tried to make money other ways than getting a job. You can make really good money getting a job too if you get the right job, if you have the right skill set, whatever. But if you need to make more money, I mean, like, there's a bunch of things people can do. There's money everywhere. money everywhere. You just have to have the balls to go out and grab it.
Yeah, this isn't to like scare you. This is to let you know that in other countries, they have it like way worse because, you know, our government has been waging war across the world for decades. And so we basically just take whatever we want from people. So we get first dibs on everything. And that basically makes the people not want to revolt. You know, it keeps us dumb and just so we don't pay attention to the shit. So we're trying to keep you ahead of the curve. Let you know other countries are dealing with this and it's way worse. And it could start happening here. Like eventually the US is not going to be able to just take whatever they want from everybody. Eventually the rest of the world's going to get upset with us and be like, no, enough is enough.
Which is why we've been pushing for self-sustainability, local communities, localizing supply chains, all that stuff.
Yeah, because you never know. You know, you just want to be prepared.
Exactly.
You never know. It could happen next month. You know,
there's going to be a day, I believe, when the U.S. is actually getting sanctions put upon it, and then the people in the U.S. will be the ones to suffer from those sanctions.
Yeah, Iran just put sanctions on the U.S. Which
what were the sanctions
work?
Right.
We're not going to be able to travel to other countries, you know, eventually if they start putting sanctions on us.
Right. But we'll see. So that's pretty much all that we had to cover today, guys. We're going to keep it pretty short today. We have a lot more in store coming. So, you know, hit that like button, hit that follow button, and stay ahead of the curve with us.
Yep, stay ahead of the curve with us. Support honest media and follow us to meet like-minded individuals. And you guys have a great week.